Welcome to the Sisterhood of Healing podcast, the podcast that wants to help you reach your best and most divine potential. Each week, we dive into topics concerning inner healing, wellness, and spirituality. We discuss strategies and practice from our own personal experiences regarding higher energies, trauma, and connecting to the divine as we take you through our own personal journeys to discover the highest versions of ourselves. In combination with guest speakers, we bring you a comprehensive guide to mental and spiritual wellness and the ability to connect to yourself and the world around you on a deeper level. I'm Nicole, and I'm Christina, and we are two sisters who want to take you along on our spiritual and healing journey. We are each on our own individual healing and spiritual path and bring unique perspectives regarding yoga, chakra healing, meditation, intuition, and trauma healing. Sometimes life is messy, sometimes it's confusing, and sometimes everything falls perfectly into place. Join us as we navigate the path to divine enlightenment together. Welcome, sisters, brothers, and non-binary listeners to episode 14 of the Sisterhood of Healing podcast. On today's episode, we have self-love coach Nikki here to discuss helping our children heal. Welcome, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
We're so happy that you're here because we think that it's really important to, as adults, you and I were in the same program, but and we understand the importance of healing and self-love, but children might not understand that as well, or we might not understand how to support our children to teach them how to love themselves. So I think that what you're doing is so amazing. So thank you for doing that.
No problem. Thank you.
So we connected because you and Christina are in the same self-love coach program. So can you tell us about maybe how you ended up in that program and what you do and what you plan on doing with that program?
Yes. So I am a certified self-admiration coach. So I do self-discovery and self-care. I decided to join the program because I knew self-love was important. I knew how to do self-love, but to put it into words was a little bit tricky for me because it's different for everybody, right? So I decided to add self-love onto my coaching certification. And I decided that I will work with women and work with children, specifically boys. I want to work with boys on self-love.
I love that.
That's awesome. I find self-love, people find it in adulthood because it's a way for them to heal from trauma. And I think it's fantastic that really you're starting from the ground up with children so that they don't have to heal as adults. So that's amazing that you're doing that.
Definitely. I felt like in my boys, I have two boys, I didn't want them to heal from childhood trauma. So I said, yeah, let's start, a little self-love journey for you and see how it goes.
Oh, that's so amazing. And equipping them with those skills. So if they come up against some sort of hardship or struggle or trauma when they're older, they have those skills to deal with it, to process their emotions and kind of sit with themselves. And that's so many of us, I know I lacked those skills. So I think it's so important to build that up in your children.
Definitely. I lacked those skills as well growing up. You were told to do what your parents told you to do. You had no opinion. You couldn't say, hey, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Or I don't feel like doing it because of this reason.
Right.
You're taught to not listen to your feelings.
Yeah. Right. I wanted my boys to have a voice. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so important. And to have a voice that's coming from such a place of knowing and self-worth too. I think that's important as well. Knowing who they are and why they're feeling these things and why they're speaking these things.
Right. Because we grow up, we're grown to be whatever our parents want us to be, oh, you have to get good grades. You have to act a certain way. You can't talk like this. You can't walk like this. You can't move. You can't run. It was always stipulations on what your parents wanted you to do.
Yeah. We've had conversations like that all the time. All the time. And then we become adults and we're like, oh, well, I'm not really happy with doing this, but I did everything that I was told to do. So how am I not happy? Like, how am I not intrinsically happy?
Yeah.
Right. You had to be the good girl or the good boy.
Yeah.
And always listen to authority and don't challenge them. And then you grow up and you realize that you've just been like living your life like status quo, and like you haven't thought twice about anything that you're doing because you've done what you're told to do, right?
Right. It's the norm. Like, oh, my boss says do this. I don't know why she said it, or he said it, but I'm gonna do it. Like, you just go along with everything.
Yeah. And then you get lost.
Yeah, correct. Real lost.
So you have 2 boys. How old are your boys?
3 and 9.
Oh, so cute.
What are their names?
Xavier and Xavier.
Oh,
I love
my X-Men.
Yeah. I love it. I love that so much. And that's so nice. So they're about like, so we're 5.5 years apart in age. They're about like the same age range apart.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of a neat dynamic. Yeah.
Yes.
Aw. So are they the reason that you decided to focus on children and boys? Like, can you explain a little bit more why? I know you mentioned it a little bit.
Yes, my boys were the reason. And also, not in my past life, but in my previous career, I was a teacher. So I worked with a lot of kids, and boys, especially. For some reason, I always had a lot of boys in my class. And I just noticed how, just from interacting with their parents, coming in, seeing them like boys playing with dolls. Oh no, son, you can't play with that doll. I'm like, why? He's enjoying it. It's a doll. It's a toy. And so I was like, wait, I want my kids to be able to have choices. If they want to wear tutus and play with dolls, wear tutus and play with dolls. I'm not gonna, say, oh, you can't do that because you're a boy, That's a stipulation parents put on their kids. So I wanted my children to love who they are, love what they want to play with, have their own opinions, grow up healthy, because a lot of men grow up not being able to express how they feel, their emotions. They don't love themselves, and then they get into these relationships with other people, and the other people just reap whatever comes out. And I mean, it's not healthy.
It's definitely not healthy. I don't
want someone to have to heal from my kids, if that makes sense.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm healing from somebody's kid right now. So
yeah.
I totally get it. I 100% get it. One of my first best friends as a child was our neighbor, and he was 4 years older than me, and he's or when his mom used to babysit us or whatever, he would come over and play Barbies with me because I didn't have my sister yet. Like, I was little. He'd come over and play Barbies with me, and like no one ever said anything about it. I think they just appreciated that we both had someone to play with. Yep. And then I would always go over and play with his Ninja Turtles because he had the van, and I thought that was the coolest thing. But it's so
same. So me and my brother, we are 5 years apart, and he used to play Barbies with me all the time. And I used to play with his toys because I was like, he has G.I. Joes. Why I don't get G.I. Joes? Why
I want to play Army Man too. Like, I want
to play with race cars.
100%. Yeah, we seem to like gender our toys for children. And I think that's one of the things, like, maybe people who haven't really investigated or looked into why it's so important to kind of like let your children do what they want to, like free of like the boundaries of gender, like why it's so important. Because then you like expose them to so many different things and sensitivities, and like, like when you're playing Barbies, you're playing at relationships, really, essentially. So
yeah,
I mean, girls practice that, but boys don't.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we play with dolls. We practice how to be moms.
Yeah.
Why boys can't play with dolls and practice to be dads.
It's so like, that is a life skill. Like, that's a life skill. It's not about playing with the doll. It's about the life skill with it.
Yep.
Or if you're playing with GI Joes and you want to learn to be GI Jane. Like,
Right. Or you play with race cars like me, and I think I'm a NASCAR driver in my head.
It's so true. So what are some of the benefits that you think could come out of? So you want to create a program for boys. Actually, wait, let me back up a bit. In creating this program for boys, like what would it look like? Like, how would you approach it? Like, what's your plan? Or children?
So, my plan is to, it actually would be like a journaling program. A lot of kids don't know how to get how they're feeling out in words, but they're really good with writing. They're really good with drawing. So I would use writing and drawing as a tool to help them figure out their emotions, sort them out, how to deal with them. We'll talk about it. I would encourage the parents to join the program with the kids. If the parents don't, that's fine. I want to keep it confidential, and I kind of want the children to trust me. So I won't be sharing as much with the parents unless I know it's something that's going to cause harm, bodily harm, or put anyone in danger. Then, of course, I will share that information. But I just want them to be in a safe space so they can, express themselves without having to worry about, oh my gosh, she went back and told my mom I hated her 2 days ago. I don't want that fear. So.
That's really nice. As I'm a teacher as well, and I see students doodling a lot. And I know, like, back in the day when we were students, that was a big no-no. Like, if your teacher caught you doodling, like, that was a big no-no. But like you said, like, drawing, I think it's one of those important ways that kids connect. I know, like, kids with ADHD, like, it's an important way to, like, help them focus. So
Correct.
I love that you've incorporated drawing into that too.
Yeah, I definitely did that for my son. My son has ADHD. Drawing and writing is not his strong suit, but he loves to draw. And he will draw pictures, and then he's able to explain what's going on in the pictures. So I usually ask, hey, can you draw me a picture of how you're feeling today? And he'll either draw some man with his head on fire, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I'm angry. I'm like, oh, I see it now.
And I like too that we can assume, like, if he's drawing someone with his head on fire, like, ooh, probably not a good emotion, but you don't tell him what he's feeling. Like, you ask
Correct.
him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's so important too, for us to, like, not, like, for us to give our children a voice and allow them to express themselves.
Definitely.
Wow. So what are some of the benefits of journaling for children and drawing pictures for children? Like, if these are parts of your program, like, what are some of the benefits to children of doing those things?
Some benefits will give the children the tools to be able to express themselves. It will give them the tools and the confidence to be able to love themselves wholly. A lot of kids grow up, I know I did. I thought, I'm going against my mom. Something has to be wrong with me, right? Like, I don't want to do what she wants me to do. My mom was like, oh, you can grow up, graduate high school, and get a job. And I'm like, no, I want to go to college. And she's like, no, you should get a job. And I'm like, no, I really want to go to college. So I went against the grain, of course. I went to college. But yeah, just, being able to have that confidence to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. This is how I feel. Just having that safe space of being able to express yourself, and the confidence. A lot of kids don't have confidence. Nowadays, there's a lot of bullying going on for different reasons. It could be they're not smarter than most kids, or they're not wearing the latest gear out in clothes and shoes. It's just so kids are cruel these days. So I just want to make sure that any kid has the confidence to be who they are uninterrupted without being conformed to what adults want them to be.
So important.
Yeah. Like we were saying, like, we definitely had that struggle too. It's so easy because you want to please your parents, right? Like, they are your first and foremost, like, role models. You don't think that they would lead you astray, and, like, they do the best they can.
Well, and they do it because they think they're leading you in a way that's going to benefit you the most, but not necessarily like the path that's going to make you the happiest, or the outcome that's going to make you the happiest.
Right. I always say you do better. You do what you can until you know better, and then you do better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. That's such a great thing to say. Yeah. And a lot of us sometimes don't know better because we don't really challenge like the status quo, or like challenge what we've been taught, and we are wondering why we aren't happy or aren't progressing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're looking everywhere else for happiness instead of inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
When it's there.
Yeah. It's like right there the whole time. Just like go within. Anything can be found by like going within.
Yep.
So true.
Yeah. So what can happen, like if we're not offering our children like these outlets, like to journal and to draw, or like these outlets to share their emotions, like what are some potential outcomes for these children, like when they grow into adolescence or when they grow into adulthood?
Well, you'll end up with an angry teenager, probably defiant, going against everything you say now, because now they're like, wait, I'm a teenager. You can't tell me what to do anymore. I'm taller than you now. Or you'll get adults that are like, I mean, they're just, someone's going to have to heal from them. And in order to catch that, we need to do that now as children.
I see that so often. So I teach teenagers, and I see that so often where, and especially with boys, I actually had a class this year that was 16 boys and 2 girls. And
oh yeah.
Yeah. 15-year-olds. And you could see like the dynamic in the class, like the amount of times that I had to stop them and say, guys, what you just said is not kind. Or like, why would you do that? Why did you do that to your friend at lunch? Like, what is going on? And like the attention seeking behavior, because like there's so many emotions that have not been processed, or, you know, kids that just want to be seen or like have their emotions heard. And I think what you're doing is so beautiful by saying like, draw me a picture. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Cause I mean, let's be real. Some parents, they're working, you know, they don't have time to ask, how are you feeling today? What's going on? Or there's not a safe place for these kids to really express their emotions because they're afraid of the backlash. Like, if I say this because I feel this way, like, what's going to happen to me? You know, some kids are like threatened or afraid of their parents. And I feel like we shouldn't be afraid of our parents. We should respect them, but we shouldn't be afraid of them.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach my kids to not be afraid of me. You can respect me, but I don't want you to be afraid of me.
That's so important too, because I think so many people lead and like not parent. I mean, I'm not a parent. I see my friends with parents. I'm like, man, God bless you. Like, this is a tough job. This is a tough job. So I don't pass any judgment, but you know, I'm sure it's difficult to lead from a place where you're like, you have to be very mindful to teach your child to follow you by respecting you and not fearing you.
But if you haven't healed as a parent, it's so hard for you to acknowledge that, you know, to be able to achieve that. You know, if you're unhealed, then you're just creating a child who's gonna need to heal one day.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want them to have to heal from your trauma.
Yeah. And like we've talked about it. Like, we were raised like with fear tactics. Like, if you don't do this, you're not going to get a good job. If you don't do this, like this. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, everything had
even to the point. Yeah, like, oh, you don't clean up your room, you cannot go outside. And you're like,
yeah,
that was us.
I don't want to clean my room right now.
We couldn't leave the house on Saturdays until the house was cleaned.
Yeah, that was like our responsibility.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I wanted to get to the kids to kind of help them, and maybe like it would spark something in their parents as to, wait, I am, you know, projecting my childhood trauma or any trauma onto my kids. So maybe I need to get in the program too. And I'm like, yeah, come on, mom, come on, dad.
Yeah. That's actually smart.
You're next.
That's actually so smart. I thought I was going to ask you, like, so, you know, you're going to be working with these children and you're going to be helping them to identify their own emotions and have their own voice. But then what happens when they leave you and they go home and they're put back in that environment? Like,
Yeah, that's my goal to, reel the parents in as well, because as adults too, we lose ourselves. We don't know how to love ourselves. We went with the status quo. We're doing what everybody tells us to do, and then we end up not happy, and we end up grumpy parents and projecting our trauma onto our kids. So I wanted to do that program. I also have a program now for women. So I'm helping women, start that healing process.
I love that. I love that. And what's that program built around?
So that's the self-admiration journey. It is a 12-week program. We do self-discovery, self-love, and self-care. Each one gets 4 weeks. They get the tools they need to, learn how to find out who they are first, because that's important. We lose ourselves, we become, like I said, everything that everybody want us to be. And I just want everybody to realize it's a bigger picture out there for us. We don't have to be what everybody wants us to be. We can be who we are, truly. You just got to tap into it.
I love that. Yeah, it can be exhausting too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a never ending journey. I don't want people to think like, oh, I finished her program, I'm done. Like, no. No. That journey still continues. You just have to keep doing the work.
Yeah, you just keep going.
Yeah.
How long have you had that program for?
That program has been going on since October.
Oh, very nice.
So it's still new.
Yeah. That's really nice. And what's some of the feedback that you've gotten from women who've gone through that program?
Oh my gosh. They're like, thank you so much. I learned how to tap into myself. I'm becoming who I want to be. And I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's so
and they're healing traumas. A lot of women that I've worked with are mothers. So they are reparenting their inner child, and then they're reparenting their kids. So now they're not passing on the trauma.
That's beautiful. That's a heavy process too.
Yeah.
Like parenting yourself and parenting your kids. Like that's,
oh yeah,
that's amazing. Like good for those women who are doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard just like doing that for myself. I can't imagine doing that in parallel with my children. That would be a lot of work, a lot of mindful effort for sure.
Yeah. Plus trying to keep your kids alive. Like feed them.
definitely.
All of that. That's a lot. Wow. Looking at like the bigger picture, what are your hopes for teaching others about self-love and healing and working with their inner child? Like what are your big hopes? What are your big dreams for the world?
Big dreams. Hopefully the world will become more kinder, because now we have the tools we need to heal our traumas. And then we can recognize other traumas in other people and not take it personally, which will give grace, and then the world will become a better place.
Yeah.
That's my bigger picture.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that.
Yeah. I feel like as an adult, now that I understand that everyone is just projecting, I have such an easier time dealing with like my personal relationships. Like when something happens or someone says something, I'm able to like take a step back and be like, oh, like this isn't about me. This is about something that like you're projecting onto this relationship right now.
Right. You're able to have the patience to say, wait, this is not my issue. This is a you issue. So I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna let you figure it out.
Yeah. You avoid so much confrontation that way and so much grief that way, like understanding that, what someone has said or has done to you is not necessarily about you. Like you're facing aggression, you don't need to meet it with aggression. You can have that patience, step back. And you just approach it from a softer place, which is so important.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, peace of mind is important. You can keep your peace of mind that way.
Yeah. That's 100% true. It's all your peace of mind. Yeah. And being able to like offer someone that space too of, okay, I understand you're upset. I understand that like you're projecting right now, and just like give them that space to figure it out, because sometimes people do, they come to figure it out and they'll say, sorry, I was feeling this in this moment. But if you're meeting them again with like the equal kind of aggression, or you're taking it personally and you're retaliating, sometimes like you're not offering them that space.
Yeah. It's about
Right.
space for someone to figure it out on their own. Like, you don't need to be that person that, like directs them to figure it out or pushes them to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
good enough.
Mhm.
And the saying always says, hurt people hurt people. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's time for us to stop hurting each other.
Yeah. And like, we don't even realize it too, which is the sad thing. Like, we don't realize we are hurting because we just kind of push through and we're like, keep going, keep going, keep going. Like we said, keep doing what everyone else told us to do, what we should do, what we think we should do. And then at the end of the day, we're like, well, I did it all. Like, why am I not happy? And because you're still hurt.
Right. Because you're still hurt.
Aw. I was gonna go back to something. Oh, what you originally said, how you're hoping to bring more kindness into the world. Like, how do you teach your two sons to be kind and to be kind to themselves and to show each other kindness, or show others kindness as well?
We talk about a lot of emotions. We talk about what they're feeling, what do they need. I even ask them, like, what do you need in this moment? And my oldest is really good at saying, and my 3-year-old not so much, but we're working on that. My oldest is quick to say, I need space. And I'm like, okay, well, you can go to your room and have space, close your door, and when you figure it out, come back down and let me know. And that helps.
Oh, that's so nice. And then how do you deal? So your 3-year-old's a toddler. Like, how do you manage that? Like, how do you address his emotions too? Because I mean, he's just little. He's like figuring out how to talk, figuring out what his emotions are, figuring out how to tie his
Oh yeah. We're going through big emotions right now. So there's a lot of, what are you feeling? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you mad? It's a lot of breath work we do with trying to, de-escalate the issue, because we do, I learned this technique while I was teaching called be a balloon. So I'll blow them up like a balloon. We let all the air out. It's a breathing technique. It helps. So yeah, it's a lot of talking and doing with him. Because 3-year-olds have big emotions.
And they probably don't understand what those emotions are yet.
Yeah.
Right. They just know that they're happening.
Yeah. And when did you start this process with the boys? Like, so did you start it recently with your 3-year-old? Did you start it, as soon as you started communicating with him? Like, what does that look like?
So with my 3-year-old, it recently started when the big emotions came. So probably about 6 months before he turned 3. He'll be 4 this October. I had to start really talking about emotions and kind of helping him with it. A lot of things trigger him. I'm not quite sure why, but hopefully when he's 4 and he's able to communicate even better, he'll be able to tell me what the triggers are. But I can't help him through the triggers right now because he's really not connecting the two. But we are talking about all the big emotions he's feeling. So he screams a lot. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of throwing. So, there's a lot of safety talk as well. Like, you don't throw your tablet. You can hit someone. I understand you're mad. I get mad too and want to throw everything. But yeah, it started when he was about 2.5.
Wow. And like, that's so important because those are such formative years and you're instilling like these valuable skills.
Yeah. Like being able to identify those emotions so early.
Yeah. Like, what a skill you're teaching. I think that's incredible and so important because that's not a skill we think of, right? It's like, is my child fed? Are they potty trained? Do they have the skills they need to enter kindergarten? Are they sharing? Like, I feel like sharing is like the big moral skill we teach our children at that age, but we never teach them emotion.
Yeah, I stopped teaching my kids to share.
I've heard that. I've heard parents do that. Why have you stopped teaching them that?
Because it's like you're teaching them, oh, I have to give away something that I'm not finished playing with because somebody else wants it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, no, I don't teach them how to share. You continue to play with what you're playing with, and when you're finished, then if you decide you want to give it to somebody else, then you do that. But I'm not gonna tell my child, oh, you're having fun with that fire truck. Stop playing with it and let this one play with it because they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you're just teaching the other child, like you're enabling them as well, right? If
Yeah.
they want
Like, oh, if I want it, I'll just get it. Like, you're not teaching them anything either. So
I had not considered that. I mean, obviously I was raised with like, you share things. This child wants it. Okay, stop playing with it, share it with them, or, you know, whatever it is, however old you are. And I can't remember with who it was, but I remember at one point, someone saying, no, I'm not going to teach them to share because it's exactly what you said. Like they're giving something of themselves away that they're not ready to yet. And I think that's a really important lesson, something I'd never thought of. And
because as adults, if I have something and you say you want it, I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing because you want it. I'm like, okay, when I finish with it, I'll let you see it, you know?
Yeah.
Same with kids. Like, if I don't have to give my stuff away, why should I make my kids give their stuff away?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. But then that was something I had to learn as an adult. Like, okay, just because somebody wants something doesn't mean I need to give it to them.
Yeah.
So it was like a hard, steep learning curve too. So I commend you for doing that. I think that's so important.
Thank you.
So what is one piece of advice you would like to leave our listeners with? Or if there's anything that we haven't touched on that like you feel really strongly that we should know?
A piece of advice that I would give your listeners, especially if they have kids, let them have a voice. Let them have an opinion. Listen to them. 9 times out of 10, if you listen to your child, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll know exactly what they need.
It's simple, but probably not something that parents actively think of when in like a crisis situation with their children.
When tempers are flaring. You're dragging your kid out of a toy store or whatever. I don't know what parents do with me. Yeah. No, like, yeah. And I think that goes for adults too. Like if we just listen to each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Each other.
Active listening is important.
Yes. Because sometimes we're just so eager. When I was a teenager, I did this workshop and one of the like ice-breaking tools was they had us actively listening. They would say, okay, this is a question you're going to ask your partner. That whole time you have to listen. You have to pick out 3 things that you want to ask them. Don't be thinking about what you're going to say, which is what I think a lot of us do in conversation.
Well, yeah, we listen to respond, not to understand. I'm sure you guys have heard that phrase before.
Right. And I always say, it's not communication is key. Comprehension.
Yeah. Because you can have 2 people talking at each other, but what is actually being comprehended or discussing that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Comprehension.
I love that. Okay, I have one more question for you. And I don't know if this is too personal or putting you on the spot, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What kind of men do you hope that your boys will grow up to be from everything that you're teaching them?
Oh, well,
big question, I know.
Being fine young men. I hope they're able to navigate in the world, and I hope they are healthy, you know, just being able to be healthy mentally and physically and emotionally, being whole with all of that. And like I said, whatever partner they decide to be with, I hope that partner doesn't have to heal for my kids.
That's so nice.
I love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you for giving us that perspective. Thank you for having that perspective, and thank you for like raising boys who have a mother who is just so like in tune with what they need and so respectful of what they need as well and their emotions, and for not putting like your needs, your traumas, your need to tell them what to do first. So I think that's really important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Your program sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to have another conversation with you down the road to hear how it's going and, you know, talk about other things that you're going to do, because everything just sounds so wonderful. So thank you.
I can't wait to see like what comes of this. So let's touch base again.
Definitely.
All right. Sounds amazing. Thanks for being a part of our program.
Thank you.
That's it for our show today. Thanks for joining. Remember, you can always reach out to us on our socials, on Instagram at sisterhood_of_healing, or on TikTok at Sisterhood of Healing. We love to hear from you, so please reach out to us at any time. Thank you for journeying with us today. We'll see you next time.